What's up, folks? My name is Brent Walker. My company is Moreland Capital, real estate wholesaling company. And I want to talk to you guys about this deal I closed this week and some things I took away from it. Some challenges that I had. This was a really tough deal that I had. I work out of the Atlanta area. This particular house was in Capitol View. It was a really challenging house to sell. Come to find out that I had it priced too high. Probably had about, I'd say, between 8 to 10 buyers come by and take a look at it. I didn't get any response from it. I have a list of probably about 400 cash buyers in my email list, probably about a little over 500 in my text message list. So I sent the property out to everyone. I got lots of negativity. Everyone was saying it's not a deal. I'll buy it at this number, which was just way too low. It was just really challenging. Another challenge I had with this deal, I got it locked up in September, and I just closed on December 17th because there was a tenant in the house, and the tenant lease was up November 30th, and the homeowner didn't really want me to show the property until the tenant was out. So that leaves me, this December 1st to December 17th to get it closed. But I've been putting feelers out throughout this time. I did pressure the seller to let me in 2 times before the tenant was out, just so I can get pictures taken. Got my contractor in there. I got an estimate. I also had a couple of buyers going in at that time as well, but just no traction. So now it must have been December 10th or 11th. I was like 6 days before we're set to close, and I just, again, no traction. I had no idea what I was going to do. This lady already had the tenant move out, so now she has this vacant house, and I don't have a buyer for it. So I said, it's been stressing me. It's really been stressing me. I finally decided, I said, you know what? I kind of got tired of keep sending that email out to people. Got tired of keep sending that email out to people. I didn't want people to get frustrated, with me sending stuff sending the same thing to their inbox. But then, the thought of, just having tenacity and being tenacious just kept playing in my head. Like, look, you can't care about what people think. So I sent the email out again, and it was just straight up with people. I said, look, renegotiating with the seller was the subject title. And I explained to people, I said, look, I have to renegotiate with the seller to move this property. So if you're interested in this property, please let me know what you think the most you would pay for this house is. I got crazy. Well, just let me tell you, my initial number that I had the house for was $175,000. So I was getting people emailing me $60,000, $75,000, $120,000. I knew she wasn't going to go that low. So finally, I had one guy. He emailed me and said he'd paid $152 for it. That was the closest thing. That was the closest offer I got to the $175. So I went ahead and I said, you know what? I'm just gonna call this lady. That was another fear that I had. Not fear, kind of hesitation, reluctance. I knew I had to do it, to call this lady and get her down $25,000. But I just ran all my numbers again, looked up all the comps in her area with my rehab quote that I had, and just called her, had that conversation with her. And it was not easy. I had to tell her what the comps were, why we need to change it from a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom to a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It just wasn't an easy conversation. So I told her we need to be at 150 because I had my buyer. I didn't tell her this, but I had my buyer at 152. You know, just making a small $2,000. But at this point, I was willing to make anything, just so I could get the deal done. So she said she was gonna think about it. She had to talk to her property manager. So she called me back and she said, "Can we meet in the middle? Can you do 155?" So I said, you know, let me talk to my partners and see what we can do. So I called my buyer. I said, look, any way you can do. I asked him if he could do 159, you know, just to see if he would come down and we could meet at 157. And they said no, they're maxed out at 152. So I called her back and I told her that, you know, we're maxed out at 150. And, you know, she wasn't happy. You know, she said her exact words is, you know, at this point I feel somewhat bitter, you know, and I want to, you know, I said it, and she wasn't willing to do the 150. So I told her, you know, then I would have to send her a termination agreement. And she said, okay. And we got off the phone, and it was to the point where I completely drafted up the termination agreement. I signed it. I got up my hello sign that I used for her. I attached the file into HelloSign, and before I sent it to her, I said, you know what, Brent, give it one more shot. You know, just don't quit that easy. You know, so I called her back again, and I said, you know, just wanted to give you one last, before I send you this termination agreement, I just wanted to give you, you know, one more call to see if there's any way you would reconsider our offer at the 150. I said, you know, I know it's not an easy situation. You know, it's not an easy phone call for me to make either. You know, I like to keep to my word. You know, when I say something, I like to stick to my word. And you know, your property manager can tell you I've had several people come in and take a look at the property, and there's just no way it'll make sense at this number. I gave her the comps. I told her approximately what we'd have to pay in closing costs. I told her what we would have to pay in real estate commission when the house goes to be resold, and broke it down to her. And she, even though it's not the number that she wanted, she understood. So she said, give me a day to think about it. The day went by, called her. She said she needed another day because her property manager was going to try to get an investor in there. He has an investor that wants to look at it. He may be interested. I wasn't too worried about that because I had so many people go in there already. I was pretty certain that an investor that he found was not going to pay 175. So I told her, I called her, I said, you know, I really have to get this, if we are going to move forward, because now we're like 4 days before the closing now. Thank God for this cash buyer that was willing to close on Monday of this week, close on Monday, and it just worked out. So I told her that she has until I think I told her she has until 3 p.m. on Thursday. So she called me and she said we're gonna move forward. It was just a beautiful situation. I notified the buyer, let them know that we're moving forward, and got the paperwork done. I sent her the amendment agreement for the new price. I sent them my assignment agreement. Sent both agreements to the closing attorney and got the process started. The buyer sent the money in to the attorney on Friday. It's not the first time I had a buyer send money in on a Friday before Monday closing. It was just a beautiful situation. What I love most about this entire ordeal is how I found this particular buyer, which also goes back to being tenacious and being proactive and finding cash buyers, just like you have to be proactive and tenacious in finding motivated sellers. So this particular buyer, there was another property that I thought I was going to get under contract quite a few months ago. It was in the Grove Park area of Atlanta. I was talking with the seller, sent him a contract, but he wound up never selling it. Said his family had some differences in opinions, and so he backed out. But before he backed out, I started looking for buyers in that area. So I pulled up comps for that particular house I recently sold for cash, and I looked up who bought those houses, and there's one particular house I found the company name that bought it, and I just tried to find the phone number on this company, couldn't find the phone number. I googled the company name and I found an address, and I just happened to know that this particular address was not like a UPS box or something like that. So I just drove there. I drove there and walked inside the office and asked for the company name, and I met with someone, and it was like, they buy and hold. They own several rental properties, and I asked them how do they normally find their deals, and they said they find all their deals through MLS, and I just couldn't believe it. Like I just couldn't even believe that there are some investors that don't even know about buying properties off market, even know that they can, or how to, or directly from sellers. And then at closing, I met the guy's father, who's the owner of the company, and I asked him, I said, how many properties do you guys currently own? And he said he bought 63 properties this year alone, 2018. He bought 63 properties, and every last one of them was through a real estate agent off the MLS. And this Monday, when I closed with him, was the first time ever that he has ever bought a property from a wholesaler or just from a seller off market. And so that was another big thing that I really enjoyed about this deal, is how I proactively, aggressively went after this buyer, and in the 11th hour, this is the buyer that came through and bought this property. Otherwise, I would have really been in a jam and had to let that property go, and that just would have sat heavy on my soul, knowing that I told this lady I would buy her house. We got the tenant out of there. She had a son, I didn't feel too bad about that because the lady wanted to sell the house. So if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. So the tenant would have had to leave regardless. But the fact that I had this, this homeowner move her tenant out, and now she just has this vacant house, I just didn't want to walk away like that. So those are my takeaways. Those are my takeaways from this deal. Obviously, try to get your numbers right initially, and but even though she was stuck on her number, and I found some higher comps that I really did think could validate that price, but it was on the other side of the main road, even though it was still in the same neighborhood. It just, like I say, real estate really has its pockets. Sometimes a half a mile just doesn't serve you in terms of what the comps are. Sometimes it has to be they're looking in those immediate few blocks even sometimes, and that was the case with this particular deal. But yeah, be tenacious, be proactive, don't quit, don't give up. If you have to renegotiate, do it. I did some homework before I made that renegotiation call. Wrote it down on a notepad, wrote some points down for me to talk to her about, and just executed. And here we are, going into Christmas, got an extra $2,000. That's it. Thank you guys for watching, and this is my first video that I actually just decided to turn the camera on myself and talk to you guys, and see you on the next one.